I'll let
Okay, we're live. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So wonderful to be together. Please join with me.
Each week, the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat take us through the 6 days of creation. They literally sing the praises of God for creating the heavens, the mountains, the oceans, and ultimately us. And we too sing these praises. Psalm 95 begins, L'chu neranana, come, let us sing joyously. Not only are we invited to sing, but to sing with joy. We continue on page 130 and we will be using the blue numbers in the brackets at the bottom of the page. A special thank you to our clappers.
Yes.
We have a whole row of clappers. Keep up the good work. We're going to put them on the payroll. So each week we get to welcome Shabbat by lighting the candles, bringing the glow of Shabbat into our homes, into our lives. We continue with the Shabbat candlelighting on page 120 and 121. Now, tomorrow morning, Grace Filiberto and Lila Hadel will be called to the Torah as Benot Mitzvah. And in honor of that, we invite them and their parents to join us on the bima to light the Shabbat candles. Take one family on this side, one family on that side. We'll read the blessing first together. O source, as these Shabbat candles
give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among us who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Lila and Grace, we are so excited for tomorrow. I've had the pleasure of working with both of you, and I know that both of you are going to do a great job. You both actually have beautiful voices, which is great because I'm jealous because I don't. And the two of you wrote beautiful Divrei Torah. And I know that at each of your services, you're going to teach us all something that we did not know before. And that makes me feel like the future is in good hands with the two of you. So Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. And if you are joining us from home, I hope that you will sit in your Shabbat greetings in the chat box and let us know from where you are joining us. One of the ways of connecting to Jewish tradition is by celebrating Shabbat, the day on which Jews mark the culmination of God's creation, of everything in the world. To be here this evening is to join yourself to Shabbat, to enter the company of those gathered to welcome a day that happens to us, that appears out of nowhere, it would sometimes seem, a day in which we get to welcome the queen or bride of Shabbat. And nothing quite captures that imagery of a queen or a Shabbat like Lecha Dodi. The song is woven out of the ancient practice of mystics, who, as the sun was setting, each Friday night would go out into the field and greet the Shabbat queen. We join together on page 138. At the last verse, we rise wherever we are, and like the mystics, we turn and face the door and welcome Shabbat into our midst.
Shabbat
Yeshayahu on page 146. Please continue with me on page 148. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach she'arim, uvitfuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmartechem barakia kirtzono, Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Umavir yom ume v'layla, umavdil ben yom v'ein layla, Adonai tzavaot shemo. El hai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hamariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on this evening.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta. Torah mitzvot, chukim umishpatim, otanu limardeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, v'shofteinu v'koneinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, v'yahavatecha, al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'chayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Please join me reading responsively on page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets, instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will one and peace.
Then we shall rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch, leolam vaed. V'nemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, u'ge'alo miyad chazak mimenu, baruch atah Adonai, Ga Yisrael.
Let there be love and understanding among us, and let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment that endured forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue on page 162, Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam.
It is my honor now to invite up our Benot Mitzvah, Grace Filiberto and Lila Hadel, for the honor of reciting our Amidah prayer.
And we rise.
Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tifta ufi agite hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VeHanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Bekonei HaKol, V'zoher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Lema'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Mashib HaRuach, U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Hayim Behesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berahamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Kolim, Umatir Asurim, Ne'emanata lehachayotako. Baruch ata Adonai, Mekayeh hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, ukadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Yasher Koach to our incredible, I will just say, future rabbinical or cantorial students. We continue on page 175, and I invite you to be seated.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, v'amecha Yisrael, u'tefilatam b'ahava tekabel, u'tehi l'ratzon. Tamid avodat Yisrael. Yisrael amecha, el karov lechol, koreach pnei lavadecha, v'choneinu, shefoch ruchacha aleinu. ותחז עינינו בשובך לציון. ברחמים ברוך אתה Adonai HaMachazeh Shekhinато
We invite you to say the meditations of your heart in prayer during this time.
peace in the heavens descend on us, and the world will say Amen. Oh, say Shalom, Bimrama, Huya, say Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Amen, Amen. Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel. May the one who makes peace in the heavens descend on us, and the world will say Amen.
We have Shabbat greetings from Ed and Marilyn, all of the Crowns, and Howard and Sylvia Cohen. Even as we celebrate the joy of Shabbat, we take a moment, especially now, to call to our hearts and minds those of our family and friends who are in need of healing. Mishaberach, Avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, Hu yavarech et haholim. Mishaberach, Avotenu ve'imotenu. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless those who are now ill. I invite you now to share the names of those for whom you are praying. Feel free to put their names in the chat box. And if you are here in the sanctuary, please feel free to share their names out loud with us now.
Tom Shanker, Ricky,
Lila Warski, Martin Levine.
Vinny Emerson.
To this list, we add Lois Mishkin, Gabby Kraft Buckman, Sharon Neese, Ari Brofman, Sharon Zidney, Basha Hadassah, Shirley Rosenberg, Paula Wegg, Gary Donner, Rosalie Landau, David Mazel, Lee Marsh, Jean Ayers, Sheila Rich, Richard Giardina, Toby Recon, Xander Erasmus, Jaden Jackowitz, Beatrice Slater, Phyllis Bernstein, Gail Yudkovitz, Arlene Rogoff, Steve Lasher, and all those who have been wounded in the Ukraine.
Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha'nefesh, refuat ha'guf, refuat shelema. Heal us now, heal us now, heal us now, heal us now. We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul, for strength of flesh and mind and spirit. We pray to once again be whole. Ela Rifana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha'nefesh, refuat ha'guf, refuat shelema. Heal us now.
May the one who was a source of blessing for our ancestors bring the blessings of healing upon those whose names we have mentioned and those named in our hearts, a healing of body and a healing of spirit. May those in whose care they are entrusted be gifted with wisdom and skill. May family and friends who surround them be gifted with love and openness, strength and trust. Blessed are you, source of healing.
We pray
Each week on Shabbat, we are reminded that we live in Jewish time. And once a month, we are reminded again that we live in Jewish time as we celebrate Rosh Chodesh, the new month. So next week, we greet the new month, so it's customary to announce the new month the week before. So we do that on page 379. And this month, we will be welcoming Nisan, the month that brings us Passover. So please rise as we join together. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, and prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our heart are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Yihya B'Yom Shabbat. The new month of Nisan will begin on next Shabbat. Each week we are also reminded that life always holds the promise of sweetness. So we remain standing as we thank God for the gift of Shabbat and pray that our cups will always runneth over with joy. So please turn to page 122.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yachava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. You may be seated.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's great to be back here at Temple Emanu-El this Shabbat. My name is Becky J, and I'm the rabbinic intern here. And I first want to ask you, as we jump into our Torah study tonight, if you can just play a small little survey game with me. Raise your hand if you've ever been angry. I'm making sure every hand is up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've got two hands for some people. Yeah, they're shaking, they're waving. Raise your hand if you've ever made a mistake. Alex, raise your hand. Okay. And raise your hand if you've ever said anything while you were angry, like maybe made a mistake because you were angry, something you wish you didn't say, you wish you didn't do. Yeah, front row, I'm digging the honesty there. There's no judgment. Okay. When I was about 7 years old, I remember getting into a fight with my mother. And I don't remember what the fight was about, but I do remember that whatever I said in that moment, out of deep, deep anger, it made her cry. And I am not a parent. I've had the opportunity to become witness to the experience of parenthood through the burgeoning of my own family, my beloved nephews. If you want pictures, I'll show you later. But as a proud, proud auntie, they call me emo in Korean, I would cringe at the idea if one of my beloved nephews would ever say something to me that was so hurtful that it would make me cry. So, what can I say about that moment and its relevance in today's Torah? That there's something to be learned in the fact that I still remember it. It's quite a while ago. And it was a moment that I wish that I could take back. Like every week, we find ourselves with the story of the Jewish people in our Parsha, but with a perspective that is shaped and grown every year. A new perspective, accumulated from nearly a year's worth of days since the last time we revisited this story. And this story in particular has, for me, always been very difficult. So actually, I'm gonna put the bat mitzvahs on the spot over here. What happens during your Parsha? Do you like it? You don't have to answer the second one. What do we, no. No, for those of you on screen, we have head shakes, no. Why don't you like it? Did you read the sermon before? Okay, so because Nadav and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, were killed. And they were killed actually very abruptly. In Parshat Shmini, Aaron and his sons step into their roles as their communities, Kohanim, their priests. They're responsible for the correct expiation of sacrifice to God in the Holy Tabernacle. But most notably, it is in the Parsha during which God offers the instruction that we know as our laws of kashrut, of kosher laws, that govern the ways in which we interact with living beings in the world and the creatures around us, as well as give form to the ways that we nourish our bodies, that really typify this Parsha. But I'm going to focus on Nadav and Abihu because I still can't make sense of it. For a deeply confounding occurrence, and maybe one that leaves one feeling less comforted by God and more fearful of God, God dictates detailed instructions to the Kohanim for the proper ritual function of various sin offerings. God says to Aaron, "Take a calf of the herd for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering without blemish, and bring them before Adonai. Take a he-goat for a sin offering, a calf and a lamb, yearlings without blemish for a burnt offering, an ox and a ram for an offering of well-being to sacrifice before Adonai, and a meal offering with oil mixed in. For today Adonai will appear to you." So Aaron did as he was told, and he came forward to the altar and sacrificed the sin offering and the burnt offering. He made expiation for himself and for the people, and the elaborate ritual included the dismemberment of various animals in a very particular way, and they were cooked so that God could smell the fumes, like a barbecue, if you will, a really delicious one. And the smoke was able to reach God where our hands are unable to reach. But then, in Leviticus 10, we face a swift turn of events. And in the following chapter, we find Aaron's sons, Nadav and Abihu, taking their fire pan, putting fire in it, laying incense in it, and offering it before Adonai, without God telling them to do so. The Torah states, "V'titzeh esh bibnei Adonai v'tochal otam v'ya'amutu lifnei Adonai." And fire then came forth from Adonai and consumed them. Thus they died at the instance of Adonai. I'm just going to name it. This image is terrifying to me. The priests Nadav and Abihu, in an effort to fulfill their duties, have appeared before God and made a mistake. And for that mistake, they were consumed in fire. Raise your hand if you've ever been caught on fire because you've made a mistake. Not in a kitchen. We have every day, wow. We'll talk later. Our rabbinic commentators have gone to great lengths to justify what would seem to us perhaps a hasty reaction from God. In short, many of them explain this consumptive response as one that is justified by the brothers' inability to take the ritual of sacrifice seriously. Rashi quotes Rabbi Ishmael says, "The brothers died because they entered the sanctuary intoxicated by wine. They were ambitious and perhaps even mocking Adonai. But what if God was wrong? And what if the rabbis were wrong?" I had to wait to see if a strike of lightning would come out, given the nature of this parsha. But there is light over there, so I hesitate to say this out loud, especially during the parsha, but as we learn how God responds to an act of disobedience, we too may form our own justifications for this parsha that we read every year and perhaps do not quite understand or agree with. I believe that the brothers were excited, maybe a little too excited, but excited to bear this responsibility for their community. We've all been there with good intention and energetic hearts as we leap just a little too soon to do something. Or maybe they really just did make a mistake and misinterpreted what they saw and what they heard. As we established, we're all guilty of making mistakes, but at least all but one of us there in the corner is not consumed by fire whenever we do make mistakes. It is here where I believe that we see the human side of the divine, and one that allows us to rest easily in the imperfect humanity when we become aware of its presence in our actions and in our deeds. We learn a lesson from humanity that is reflected in the Adonai, that is also learning to create relationship with us, and in this parsha, the Israelites. We learn that in moments of anger, we must rest, slow down, and create for ourselves a personal Shabbat. I do not have to explain that right now we live in the midst of incredible anger in our world, that the reason our Shabbat gatherings have only become more special and increased in their sense of holiness is because the world around us, the people around us, feels unsteady. Anger feels like it's everywhere, and it's in me, it's in you, it's in God. But Shabbat gives us shelter from that anger. It gives us pause. Recently, while speaking to an Irish friend of mine, I learned that linguistically, in Gaelic, to express certain emotions, one literally adopts the state of the emotion. In English, as I would say, I am sad or I am angry. In Gaelic, the translation of the same sentiment would be, I carry anger with me. I take on anger. I carry sadness. And this linguistic treasure is meant to imply that emotions are impermanent, that you will not always be angry, that you will not always be sad, but there is a Shabbat to the emotions that are afflicting you. This is where our parsha figures in. In shock, surprise, and anger, God admonishes Nadav and Abihu through fire, leading to their death. This is harsh, but it is also an act that cannot be reversed. When they are gone, they are gone. And our Torah describes this as a tragedy because it happened so very quickly. God did not pause. It happened in 2 verses. Science has proven to us that when humans transition to holding the emotional state of anger, we make decisions from a different part of our brain, one that defaults to fight or flight, instead of one that relies on rationale. Evolution has taught us to rely on this response, and to give it credit, it's kept us safe and alive for many, many years. But there is a lot of anger out there, and we live in a world where we can see it easily at the click of a finger. I expect that we would be hard-pressed to find that many of us in this room, or I expect that we would not be hard-pressed to find that many of us in this room have said or done something while angry that we wish we could take back. These are the actions that might not always be reversible, but in future, we have the ability to change because they are the words and they are the acts that will always live on the hearts of the people who receive them from us. So this Shabbat, as we welcome the Shekhinah in our midst, I beckon us to also welcome the words of Nachman of Breslov, the Hasidic master, when he said, "Sweeten anger with compassion." Let us learn from God in this way, and before shaping our reactions to the people and actions around us, give ourselves the personal Shabbats that we need, and pause, for the anger or whatever emotion we carry may leave us just as swiftly as it came to be on our backs, and the people before us, the people around us, and our community members deserve more than 2 verses of anger in Torah. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Becky. We always learn so much from you when you teach us Torah, and we're so grateful for the unique and fresh perspectives that you bring to our ancient text. Our worship continues on page 586 with Aleinu. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umudim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar v'chai Adonai, v'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. You are invited to rise and remain standing when the name of your loved one is recited. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those of our congregational family who have passed away in the last month: Morris Hodara, father of Fred Hodara; Fred Rosenberg, father of Elise Garfinkel. In addition, this week we remember Rabbi Tovia Ben Horin, Rabbi Emeritus of Congregation Har El in Jerusalem. And we also remember those killed in Tuesday's terrorist attack in Beersheba: Menachem Yehezkel, Lori Yitzhak, Rabbi Moshe Kravitsky, and Doris Yabas. And we remember Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. as well as those who have died at this season in years past. We remember tonight Leonard Bernstein, Jean Bosanak, Edna Eisner, Jerome Fechner, Esther Frankel, Anne Frett, Samuel Gilman, Janet Kurter-Goldberg, Musa Grushenko, Joe Leith Holtzman, Robert Kaplan, Mady Kaplan, Stanley Katz, Max Kerman, Elsa Larkey, Hyman Lemberg, Eve Lieberman, Thelma Lodmer, Sylvia Lowenthal, Ruth Mandel Salerno, Gabrielle Marks, Leonard Neiman, Michael Offerman, Dorothy Pascoe, Sam Rosenfeld, Richard Schlanger, Larry Schwartz, Max Schwartz, Frederick Scott, Jack Shapiro, Robert Schulman, Leonard J. Skolnick, Robert Slater, Edith Stern, Sadie Strober, Saul Walks, Sylvia Wasser, Juliet Wolin, Ann Zamor, and Blanche Zientz. And if there are any names who you would like to add, I invite you to do so now. We join together in the sacred words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598, and in unity with all those who mourn, we rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma tivrach yurtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon, v'chayed b'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'elam u'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei kedusha parichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
You may be seated. Our observance of Shabbat continues tomorrow morning with Holy Scrollers at 8:15 and the Minyan at 9:30. Simchat Shabbat at 9 o'clock in the chapel. And Mazel Tov to our Benot Mitzvah, Lila and Grace, and their families, as they will be called to the Torah tomorrow morning. We have a very busy schedule coming up at Temple. On Tuesday at 4 o'clock, help us pack emergency food bags for Jewish Family Services. On Wednesday at noon, join Rabbi Prosnit and Reverend Joy Mounts of First Congregational Church for a joint Bible study, this week focusing on Job. And later that evening, on Wednesday, join Sisterhood for their book club. Thursday, March 31st, is a very special day for us. Join us at 7:30 online for our Kol Tzedek speaker. We are excited to welcome Pulitzer Prize-winning author Isabel Wilkerson, author of the best-selling book Cast. This conversation with Isabel Wilkerson will not be recorded, so please plan to join us on Thursday night. We have a lot of Passover programming coming up to help us get ready, so please check the e-blasts and the website for more information and to register for all of these and more great events. This Shabbat, we are bringing our worship tonight to a close with Shalom Aleichem
Yes.
on page 627.
A classic, so I want to hear all your voices. Here we go. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Olachem
Kain. May Adonai grant strength to our people. Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. May Adonai bless our people with peace. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.